Hello there. Today I want to show you the last game I played in LoneWolf tournament, and since there were some positive reviews regarding me doing this stuff on the real physical board and pieces, then I will do this in this manner. And please let me know in the comments what do you think. Is this okay for you? I don't know how how transparent is it. Is it how if it's easy to follow on the physical board, but well, let's try something different. So in this game, I again faced much stronger opponent. My opponent is 2000 plus in all categories in lichess, in bullet, split, rapid, classic. In some, he were peaked over 2100. And well, as you know, I'm not that strong. I'm over just over 1800 on classic, 1900 on rapid, and blitz is 1700 and bullet is 1400. So I'm not very strong into fast controls, and this shows that my opponent has a very good board vision, very good tactical abilities, and well, he's overall a strong club player. So I opened the game with e4. He played the Sicilian c5. I went for Alapin variation c3, so fighting for d5 square from the beginning of the game, and he plays d4 here. Now, since this is a very long game and the end game is particularly interesting, I will not take much time on discussing openings. But I just want to say that this the d5 move is the most challenging from black. The other alternative is just knight to f3, and all other moves are not so good because it allows immediately d4. So d5 move, I took the pawn, he took with his queen, and now the main line is just to play d4 here. But I want to play. I want this. I like this sideline when you delay d4 and you just play normal developing move and looking to prepare d4 maybe for later. He played knight f6 here, so again a normal developing move, and now I played knight to a3, and I have to admit that although I don't like learning openings and variations by variations and move by move, that I did learn. I did learn something about this opening, because it's this line is the only sharp line in this opening, an unusual line, and you have maybe you need to know some moves. So this knight to a3 is not something you would expect by following just classical chess principles, developing knight on the edge of the board, but it has several ideas attached to it. So the first idea is maybe to play knight to c2 and then in this way prepare for d4. The other idea is to play bishop to c4 with tempo, because now the bishop is guarded, and also the pressure on weak f7 square. So this is the idea, and the third idea is to play knight b5, and now threatening this fork. So this also comes with the tempo. So these are three ideas behind this move, and I like this move, and well, in fact, I played all of three ideas in the past. My opponent played bishop g4 here, pinning the knight. It's a usual move, so I'm unpinning. He played e6, and now I have to choose which plan, what to do with this knight. Do I want to go to b5? Do I want to move my bishop? Well, this plan doesn't work anymore because of the pin, or maybe just to go for this passive option. So I decided to play knight to b5 and just put a question mark. What does he want? There's also a little trap here. So if he tries to play, for example, bishop to d6, thus guarding the c7 square, then I have this c4 move, and then he loses the bishop. So it's just a small trick. But anyway, he has to choose what to do now. What course of events does he want? Does he want just to retreat his queen, or he wants to do something else? And he did this move, queen to d7, and well, this offers me the opportunity to go immediately to the end game. And this is by playing a knight to e5, which I did. And so the idea was knight to e5 is attacking the queen. If he takes my bishop, I take his queen. he takes my queen, I take his knight with a check, he has to capture my knight, I get to capture the bishop. And in the end of the capture sequence, he will end up with two doubled pawns here, and they isolated this a pawn, h pawn, which can be a great liability in his position and weakness in the end game. And you will see that in fact this was the deciding factor in the game later on. So if you want, you can pause the video here and just try to visualize this capturing sequence. It's a good visualization exercise. Okay, so the game went knight to e5. He captured, I captured, he captured, I captured. With a check, he has to take, and I have to take. So this is what I saw that will happen. So we exchanged two knights, two bishops, and two queens. And well, this is not the end of the world for black by any means, because these pawns are not weak, but this guy can be weak. So I think I have a slight edge here in this position. It's black's turn to move, so he played king to d7, centralizing and activating his king. Since this is the end game, this is what you should be doing. Now I have to think about completing my development. So I played d3 here. So why d3? Because my idea here, and the one feature of the position, is that this bishop is locked by this pawn. So I don't want to allow him to move this pawn. I want to keep this bishop locked. So this is why I didn't play d5, for example, or d4, because it will allow him to exchange this pawn and then open up his bishop. So I played d3, opening my bishop, and also preventing this pawn to move, and thus keeping this bishop inactive. He played a6, now kicking away my knight. I played knight to a3, and he now played b5. And okay, so he got some space on the queen side, but still I'm thinking about this pawn and how to keep this pawn blocking this bishop. So in this position I made one concession. I decided to go for c4, so blocking this pawn, because in this position he can just push this pawn and activate his bishop, maybe on some very active square. So I played c4, and and I created this weakness, this backward pawn, and I was aware of this weakness, but I decided to give this concession to the position, because now I have backward pawn, and you know backward pawn on a semi-open file can be a great liability and great weakness in the position, especially when he has heavy pieces on the board. If there are only minor pieces, then it's not such a problem, but he has rooks, he can double up the rooks and make constant pressure on this pawn. But on the other hand, this pawn is on the light square, he has dark square bishop, so he cannot attack by the bishop. I have a king which can guard the pawn, the knight can guard. I can also do this, for example, and then guard it if need be. So and also I can play d4 at some moment. So I evaluated that this is not such a great liability, and it's more important to keep this pawn here. He played king to c6 here, so bringing up his king. I developed my bishop. So you can see that the advantage of having the pawn here is not just that he blocks it blocks his bishop, but also it's a target because it's on the light square. And you can see that my pawns on the queen side will be on the light squares, and his will be, for example, if he pushes, which he will do later, his pawns are on the dark squares. And this is now his backward pawn. It's not backward because it's not on the semi-open file, but it's a weakness, and it's a targeted weakness. My opponent played knight to e7 here, so he wants obviously to activate his knight. And here I followed Steinitz principle. So Steinitz said that when you're playing against the knight, you should take away the squares from the knight. So the knight has obvious this e5 square. He can go here, and from here he can jump all over the board and compromise my position. And you can also see that this pawn supports these two squares, which can be used by the knight. So I played f4. This is just following Steinitz's advice. So this pawn offers 2 support points for his knight, and now my pawn takes away these support points, and his knight cannot penetrate now. So this was the idea. He played a rook to d8. Now, well, he's just trying to exploit my weakness, my backward pawn here. I played king to e2, so protecting the pawn and also getting away from any pins, and making space maybe for my rook in the future if need be. Rook to g8. Now he's making another pressure. So you can see that there are 2 semi-open files on the board at this moment. He wants to control both of them, and it's fine. I have to play g3 here. What else? I don't want to move my king because it protects this guy, and well, to assign a rook to protect the pawn doesn't make much sense. So I played g3 here, and he went for b4. Now expanding on the king side, on the queen side, and attacking my knight. I move the knight on a c2, and now he has to do something about his pieces because well, he has to get some activity. His pieces are rather cramped, and he played the well, expected move f5 here. And now by this move he opened up this diagonal, so he can develop his bishop maybe on this diagonal, and also he made a square for this knight. And you can see that by moving this f4, these two squares became weakened. And now, okay, this square is covered by this pawn. But what about this g4 square? My original intention was if he comes here to f6, I can just play h3 and take away this square. But now I cannot play h3 because, well, this guy is hanging there. So he's playing very well here. So he's trying to make some space for his pieces. But now you can see the dynamics of this position. So the game is played on both on the queen side and on the king side. You can see some activity on both sides of the board. So I have to make a strategical decision now. Do I want to prevent his play on the king side? So he's obviously wants to play on the king side. So he's aiming his pieces here. So do I want to try to obstruct his play on the king side by, for example, protecting this pawn and then pushing this pawn or something? Or do I want to get counterplay on the queen side? So this is the decision. And you will see that we both decided to do counterplay. So I played on the queen side from this moment on, and he played he tried to play on the king side. So this is very interesting dynamics, and we both make these choices that we will rather play actively on one side than try to obstruct the opponent's game on the opposite side. So following this decision, I played d4 here, going for the pawn break, and you can now see that well, this if this pawn moves, then this pawn is will be hanging, and now this complicates things. Things a bit. So at least by this move, I don't have a backward pawn anymore, and also I can bring up my my rooks in the game here, and this king is now free. It doesn't have to protect this d3 pawn, and it can maybe join the king side play. So well, the point is just to get some activity on the queen side, as you will see in the game. And there is also one tactical motive, is that this rook is undefended. So maybe if I get my rook here, he can have some troubles with well, if I take the pawn, then this knight is pinned and so on. So there are some tactical motives there also, maybe. And I think this is the reason why in this position he played the bishop e7. And this is a very good thinking. So if you have the undefended piece in the position, you don't want to have undefended piece and be exposed to all kind of tactical tricks. So he played bishop to e7, which is a good move. He's activating the bishop. Now you will see that he hits also the h4 square, which can be useful. He can activate his bishop here, or anyway, he's now connected the rook, and this rook is now protected twice, so he doesn't have the problems. So I think this is good improvement move. I now played b3. and maybe I should have played b3 earlier. There were opportunities earlier, but okay, better late than never. And now I'm fixing his pawns onto dark squares, so his bishop cannot play on the queen side. This was the point, and also I am preparing this a3 move, which can then break the position and open the a file and give some activity to my rook. And again, he didn't want. Maybe he could do something about these ideas, but he decided not to obstruct my game on the queen side, but rather to be active on the king side, and he played h5. Very interesting move and very interesting threat here, because now he's just threatening h4. This pawn is protected, and he will just if he plays h4, he would just destroy my structure, my pawn structure here. Okay, and being faithful to my decision, I didn't address this issue right away, but instead I played on the queen side, so I played a3 here. He played a5, which I think was a mistake, because it gives me exactly what I want. I want to open a file and counter play on the queen side, so that he can never realize his threat here. So I took the pawn, he took the pawn back, and now I have this a file, so I'm just penetrating. I play rook a6 check, he plays rook to b7, and now I'm doubling up the rooks on the a file. Okay, and at this moment he decides that these doubled rooks on the open file are too much for him to handle, so he offers the exchange of rooks by playing rook to a8. And now I have again to make a decision. So do I go for this mass exchange or not? I don't. It's not like I have much alternatives. Maybe this would be alternative rook to a4. I don't know. But now I calculated what would happen if I exchange. So if we exchange rooks, his king. You can visualize this with me. So we exchange rooks, and this rook ends up on a4. Then I take the pawn. He takes the pawn. And then I can take this. If he takes with the bishop, I can take with the bishop back. He takes the bishop, and then this guy is hanging. I can take this pawn. Then he can take with the knight this pawn, and this one will be left untouched, and I will have isolated passed pawn, not isolated but passed pawn in the endgame. And then, so on the queen side, I would have isolated pawn. And I can then focus on my on the king side and play the game on the king side. And he cannot put all his forces on the king side, because he will have to deal with the isolated pawn. So this was my thinking at the moment. So I didn't go for exchange just for the sake of exchange, but because I evaluated, the evaluation can be wrong, but anyway, I evaluated that I will have the advantage in the endgame if I do the exchange. So this is how the game went. So we exchanged rooks. Okay. So it happened just as I described. So I took the pawn, knight takes c4, he took with the knight, and I took this hanging pawn, and he took my pawn. Okay, so we exchanged everything, but now I have this passed pawn here, and you can see that well, he'll have to focus on this. So he will have to assign some of his forces to this pawn, and then maybe I can have some advantage on the king side. So this was calculated in front, and I think I have an edge here. I played knight to c6 now, threatening his bishop. He moved his bishop to f6, and now I played knight to e5, now hitting this pawn, and forcing the exchange. So the idea was that after the exchange, so the exchange is forced, I just play this. So the idea is that maybe I could penetrate with my king, and then just pick up all his pawns and push my guy. Okay, so this was my idea, but this was a principled idea. This was not calculated precisely. It was just an idea, and since I didn't calculate this precisely, I didn't see the opportunities and counterplay which he has in this position, and indeed he does have it. So he played a knight to a5 here, now attacking my pawn. I have to play c5 to protect the pawn, and he played knight c6 now, attacking my other pawn. And the only way to protect it is to play bishop to f4. And now, by playing bishop to f4, I'm cutting away. I'm taking the square, the penetration square for my king, because my plan was to penetrate here. And now he forced me to put my bishop here. So I have to change to change plans now. He played king to b7, bringing up his king, and now, well, what to do now? I still want to penetrate. I cannot penetrate via f4, but maybe I can penetrate here. Okay, and then pick up his pawns and win the game. So I played king to f2, and he played knight to e7. And now you will see how good my opponent is in preventing me from penetrating. So he knows that my plan is to penetrate, and he will now stop me from doing this. So he played. I played king to g2, wanting to penetrate. He played knight to g6 and cutting away the h4 square, and now I cannot penetrate anymore. So I have to go another way around. So I played king to f3, king to c6, now challenging my pawn. And well, the things got a little bit out of control here, but I still thought that I have some penetration chances. So now both of my pawns are under attack, and I cannot defend them both, so I will lose the pawn now. But it doesn't really matter. If I manage to penetrate, then everything is over. So I played bishop to e3, protecting this pawn and allowing him to capture this pawn, but then I have f4 square. This was my thinking. So he captured the pawn with a check. I played king f4, and now I was very happy to penetrate here, but well, not so fast, because he played knight to g4, hitting my bishop. So now if I continue with my plan, I'll just lose the bishop. So he's not just hitting my bishop, he's also hitting my pawn here, and this pawn is under attack. So everything is under attack. I have to play the only reasonable move, bishop to g1, now protecting this pawn, and well, again maybe hoping to penetrate, but then he played just f6, and now he cut off all my penetration squares here. So what to do now? Well, again I have to come up with some other plan, and well, at this moment I'm still trying to penetrate, so I think this penetration could work now. So I played again king to f3, knight to e5 check, king to g2. And now he had a choice to make. In my opinion, it would be better for him just to stick up to his previous strategy and just try to block my penetration. So I think he should have played something like knight to g6 with the same idea, just to block me. And now with knight to g6, he's blocking both of these squares, and there is no way I can penetrate. And then maybe he can try to start pushing these pawns, or I don't know. So I think this would be his better choice. Instead, he went for the pawn. So you can see that this pawn is now attacked twice, defended only once, so this pawn will fall, and he'll be temporarily 2 pawns up. And this in fact allows me to realize my plan. So I played immediately king to h3. He grabbed the pawn. Now notice that I cannot take the knight, because then this will just promote. So I go with king h4, knight e4. I pick up the pawn, and now he's bringing up his king d4, king g6. So I'm now making room for my pawn to promote, and I'm also attacking his pawns. So if he moves his forces away, I will pick up his pawns. So this king attacks his pawns and also makes room for my my main plan. king e5. Now he wants to protect his pawns, and he doesn't want his knight to be tied up to just for to the defensive purpose. And now I have to come up with a new plan. So you can see that this L game is all about plans. So you have these are short-term plans. Some plans are wrong. Some plans are not calculated enough. But it's important to have the plan in the end game. So you don't you cannot just move the pieces around without any plans. So you have to every few moves to reassess the position and to come up with plan. So what plan do I have here? I want obviously to promote the pawn, but this pawn, this g pawn is under attack. So if I play this immediately, I will just lose the pawn. So I have to protect this pawn somehow. I cannot protect here because I will lose the bishop. So I have to think how to protect the pawn, and I play bishop to e3 here. So hoping to come to f4 and then protect this pawn in this manner, and then maybe go on. This was a bad plan because, well, you will see why. Because when I played bishop to e3, he played king to d4, and now I cannot protect this because he will just kick away my bishop. Or he can even allow me to play this and then kick away my bishop, and then I lose the pawn. Okay, so this was not a very good plan. This was the position. So after I played bishop to e3, he played king to d4. Okay, so I need to come up with another plan. So how to defend this guy? Not like this. So I decided that I can defend it by maneuvering my bishop to e1. So I played bishop to b6, and now I want to do this maneuver. Okay, and then I protect, and then I can push the pawn. Okay, so I played bishop to b6 for that reason. And here he made a blunder, which I didn't seize. I didn't to take the opportunity. Here he played king to e5, and now I have a winning game because I can now just play h4, and he cannot capture because he will be skewered and he will lose the knight. So this is a tactical shot which I missed, and okay, I missed this first of all because I was very tired and exhausted by this point. This game went for 2 hours. And it was a very tense game. And this is one of the reasons why I miss these simple tactics. And another reason is the problem when you come up with a plan. Don't just stick to your plan and you still need to reevaluate your plan after each of your opponent's move. So in this position, my plan was this. And I also almost mechanically play this. So I played this, he played this, I played this. Okay. I should have stopped and think, okay, he's here, I can check him. If you have forcing move, check captures threats, you should always consider your forcing moves because, well, tactics is more important than anything. So if you, in the sense that if you have a tactical opportunity, then it doesn't matter which kind of positional advantage does your opponent have. So this screams for tactics because I have check. So, but anyway, I played bishop to a5 here. He went king to d6, bishop to e1. Now preparing what I wanted, king to e7. Now he wants obviously to penetrate here to stop my pawn. I stopped this plan by just playing king to g7. And now I have the opposition, and he cannot penetrate. I have very clear way forward. Here he played e5, so he wants to make some progress of his own. Okay, now there is no reason why I shouldn't just play h4, and which I did. King to e6. Okay, I don't understand the purpose really of that move. So h5, king to d6. Now I just continue with h6, and now he brings his knight to f7, and I play h7. So now he's now stopping me from promoting, and also you can notice that if I would now to promote and to exchange to capture his knight, this would be a draw because he has 3 pawns against my 1 pawn and the bishop, and there is no way I can stop him from trading off this pawn. So he can just play something like this, and then move his pawns forward, and it will be a draw. So this is now a situation in which I cannot promote, but he also cannot move away his knight. The good thing about this position is that I think at this moment it's almost impossible from his to win. So now at his moment he's playing for a draw and I'm playing for a win. He played e4 here, so trying to advance his pawns. I played bishop to d2, stopping any further advancement of his pawns. And now, okay, let me just play his move. He played king to e7. Okay, and now I need to play for a zugzwang. So these two pawns cannot move because they will be captured. This pawn cannot move. This knight cannot move because I will just promote. So only piece which can be moved is his king, but he has very limited movements. He can move only here, because if he moves here, I will just take up all his pawns. If he moves anywhere, I will pick up his knight. So he is now in the very restricted position, and I need to find a way to exploit it. And the easiest way is just, well, I know it now, but I didn't know in the game, was just to remaneuver the bishop here, so taking away this square. Now he cannot hold everything. He can either be here and allow me to grab the pawn, or he can be I don't know, here, and then I can very easily provoke some kind of zugzwang, and he'll just lose the knight. Okay, so okay, it was not very precise what I've shown, but you got the idea. I need to take away this square. I didn't realize this at the moment, so I just went for trial and errors. I had some few bad ideas how this should be played, so I played this, but luckily he cannot do anything, so I cannot make some huge mistake at this point. So I played king to g8, he played king to e6, king to g7, king to e7. Okay, so nothing, we just repeated the position, so I need to do something else, obviously. So this is like some kind of trial and error. So bishop to f4, just playing a waiting move, see what can he do. He played king to e7. I tried king to f8, trying to force the zugzwang, but then he played knight to h8. And now again, I don't have anything. So I need to go back. So I am just now going back to the position. So king to g8, knight to f7, bishop to e3. So I'm putting everything back. Okay, and this is what was played. So I tried one plan and it didn't work. We went back to the position. So I tried another plan. It didn't work. So we got back to the almost same position. You can notice that I was just careful not to repeat the position 3 times. So once my bishop was here, first time my bishop was here, second time my bishop was here, and now my bishop is here. So it's not completely the same position, so he cannot claim draw by repetition. Okay, what now? Now we are back to square one, and I have to think about some new plan. Now in this position it's his move, so he has to play something, and he played king to e6. Okay, and now I finally realized that I have this opportunity. So what I needed to do, I needed to have him to have the opposition. So now I'm the one having the opposition, and he has to move this from this square. I could do this much earlier if I thought of the right idea. So now I'm the one having the position. He has to play. He cannot play with any of his moves by the king, and he has to move the king either here or here. In whichever way he moves the king, I just cut off this square. And it's very important to do this from the c5 square, because now at the same moment I'm also preventing his pawn to advance. So what is now he's in pure zugzwang. He cannot move his king because he will lose the knight. He cannot move the knight because I will promote. These two pawns cannot be moved without being captured, and this pawn as well. So he has to make the move, and well, he chose the least evil, so he played f4 here, trying at least to have his pawns connected. So I immediately took the pawn, and he played f5. And now again I was really exhausted at this moment, and I missed obvious win. So obvious win is just to promote to the queen. Okay, he has to take. I take, and there is no way he can win this endgame. I can protect this pawn forever. I can slowly bring up my king, pick up his pawns, and this is it. So this is just winning. I would win this position probably against the stockfish engine, but for some reason I didn't see this. I was so much focused on. You can see I'm nervous when I talk about this. I was somewhere in my mind, I guess, the information was stuck that I cannot play this advancement because it will be a draw, and I just kept to this like some kind of dogma, and I didn't think that, well, at some point, especially now when he traded the pawns, at some point this is the winning move. I just forget about this, and maybe I can just say a few words about time controls here. So this exhaustion, I was really mentally exhausted here, and these times control are 30 minutes plus 30 seconds, and they are much difficult to play than tournament time controls when you have 90 minutes plus 30 seconds. The game do last much longer in the federated tournaments, but when you have more time, then you can take a break. So, for example, if this was to happen, if I felt this kind of exhaustion during the tournament on the over the board tournament, I would probably just get up. I would take 5 or 10 minutes break, because you have enough time and you can afford to take 5 minutes or 10 minutes break. You can go to the restroom. You can splash some cold water on your face. You can go have a cup of coffee, eat some chocolate, smoke a cigarette if that's your thing. So you can just take a break. You can just refresh and get away from the board for 10 minutes, get some refreshments, and then come back fresh to the board, because you have time. And here, although these games last much less, but you don't have time for a refreshment. So at this moment I had like, I don't know, 7 minutes, maybe 5-7 minutes, maybe less, I'm not sure. And I don't have time. I cannot get up and so just take a 5-minute break. So okay, this is just a small digression. But anyway, in this position I didn't see that this was a winning move, and well, I consider this a tragedy, but okay, I will learn. I hope I will learn something from this. So since I didn't see that this was a winning move, I played bishop d4. So still trying to play for some kind of Zugzwang. I don't know. And I also missed that by moving this pawn, he has this opportunity to come to the king side with his king in the future. My opponent played king to e7, so he's trying to just to hold the position. I went for bishop to f2. Again, this is just winning, but okay, I didn't see this. So bishop f2, king e6. I played king g8 for some attempt to initiate Zugzwang, and he just now played king to f6. And now he'll penetrate my king side with his king, which well, actually doesn't matter, because I have the winning move all the time, but I wasn't aware of this, so I just kept complicating things more and more. King to f8 now, king to g6. Now he's going after my pawn. Bishop to d4, and you can notice that he cannot now take the pawn because I will take his knight, and he decided to play e3 here, so to distract my bishop. So I took the pawn. He distracted my bishop, and now he played knight to h8, which he couldn't play before because my bishop was here. Okay, and now in this position again, I don't have to do much. I can just go go back with my king and promote, and well, he has only one pawn now. He lost even another pawn, so if this exchange would happen, I will have pawn and bishop against pawn, and my pawn is on the dark square, so it can be protected, so it's 100% winning position. But for some reason, like I said, I just was totally blind that I have the winning move here, and I play bishop to d7 again, thinking that, I don't know why, thinking that I will have a winning king and pawn endgame. Completely wrong. And now at this moment, after this, so this was 100% winning position, and after this move it was 100% draw. So he just took the pawn, I took the knight, he took the bishop, and now you can see that even he's the one having the opposition, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter because his king is now in front of the pawn, and once I pick up this pawn, his king will be in front. And if this situation was like this, so if my pawn was on the fourth rank, I mean on the fifth rank, then I think it wouldn't matter, because opposition doesn't matter if your pawn is on the fourth rank. Fourth from counting from the promotion, fifth rank if you like. And I know this theory, it's the basic endgame theory, but I just didn't think. I don't know, my brain was a mishmash. So this was now pure draw after me having at least 10 opportunities to easily win the game. And now the game continued in the most bizarre way. So I play king to f7, he played king to h7, king to f6, king to g8, everything good. I took the pawn. He played king to f7, grabbing the opposition, king to g5, king to g7, f5, and now it became obvious that it was not only I who was exhausted and whose brain was turned into mishmash, but also obviously the fatigue got to my opponent as well, and well, he played king to f8 here, thus losing the game and giving up the opposition, and I immediately played king to f6, king to g8, king to e7, and my opponent resigned. So well, you can see in these kind of games, which last very long, and like I said, you don't have time to refresh, to take a break, to take 5 or 10 minutes off. The exhaustion and the fatigue play a major role. So you saw that I missed. I had at least 10 opportunities to make a clear win, and by clear win, I mean that probably in any blitz or bullet game I would play the correct move. But I just missed it because well, I was tired, and I couldn't see the obvious, and well, you can see by the end of the game, obviously my opponent wasn't immune to that either. So in this bizarre fashion, I finally managed to win the game against this much stronger opponent. If you want to see the game, I will link it below. Like always, you can check it out. If you like the video, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave the comment below, tell me what you think about this game and about this kind of presentation. I know it was a long video, but well, believe me, the game was much longer. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon with more chess. Cheers!